Hey everybody, how's it going? I read an interesting article on Forbes the other day. It said coming soon for the unvaccinated, a $50 monthly paycheck deduction from your employer, which would show up on the screen if I was actually a YouTuber and knew how to set that up before starting the video. It says here that employers are beginning to tack on a special surcharge of $20 to $50 a month to their unvaccinated workers, according to one of the nation's largest health benefits consultancies. To date, employers have offered gift cards, day off work, cash, and other financial incentives to convince their workers to get vaccinated against COVID-19. But the carrot approach is about to be joined by a stick that could cost employees up to $50 a month, according to Mercer, the large employee benefits consultancy that works with thousands of employers around the world. Employers have tried encouraging employees to get vaccinated through offering incentives like paid time off and cash. But with the Delta variant driving up infections and hospitalizations around the country, at the same time that vaccination rates have stalled, we have received inquiries from at least 20 employers over the past few weeks who are giving consideration to adding health coverage surcharges for the unvaccinated as a way to drive up vaccination rates in their workforce, said Wade Simons, Mercer's Regulatory Resources Group leader. Mercer isn't disclosing the names of companies working on the surcharges, but said the amount of surcharges being discussed with these employers is akin to the $20 to $50 a month charges companies already charge workers who smoke, which is interesting because I didn't know that companies actually charge workers who smoke, and we can get into that later, but it's very interesting that there are companies actually doing that. Aside from a public health reason to encourage vaccination and keep workers and their families healthy, there is also a financial reason. COVID-19 can lead to serious illness and an expensive hospital stay that cost the worker and company paid insurance, triggering premium increases as well. An essay in last week's New York Times outlined several examples of how COVID-19 can lead to higher costs and health insurance premiums from the unvaccinated. Getting hospitalized with COVID-19 in the U.S. typically generates huge bills, citing an example of a $104,000 bill for a 14-day hospitalization in Miami for an uninsured person. Now, that is a high bill, but one thing to keep in mind is that Miami is kind of like New York City and Florida, where everything is insanely overpriced, but still you get the point. Though premium surcharges are only beginning to be considered, financial incentives are already being used by some employers. It says that data from last month of more than 300 employers shows only 10% provide a financial incentive, although 19% offer extra paid time off as a reward, Mercer said in a statement. And here it's the same thing. If you get the COVID vaccine and you work here and you feel bad for the day or the week after, I add it to your paid time off and I don't deduct it from the amount of days that you have available. I figure that's the least I could do. Some employers are now offering additional time off so employees can assist with their children's vaccinations. Benefits consultants see the push by employers to get their workers vaccinated is only intensifying as employees return to the office after 18 months of working remotely. This past week, a few big names, including Google and Facebook, announced plans to require all employees to get vaccinated for COVID-19 before returning to the office. Mercer Simons wrote in a column last week on the benefits firm's website. And while many employers, are willing to take additional measures to increase vaccine levels, most employers continue to hold off on mandates because of potential employee relations issues that such a move might provoke. Now, with the Delta variant driving up infections and hospitalizations throughout the country, at the same time that vaccination rates have stalled, health coverage surcharges for unvaccinated are a tactic employers are reviewing as an alternative to a mandate. Now, I think this is interesting because I think that if you have people that don't want to inject something into themselves for whatever reason, that I don't see how $50 a month is going to make the biggest difference. The only people I think that's going to make a difference to are people who are thinking to themselves, that's going to take 20 minutes out of my day because I have to walk 5 minutes to the pharmacy. After I have to wait for the shot. After I get the shot, they ask me to wait here 15 minutes, and I don't want to do that. I'm not against the vaccine. It's just, it's out of my way. I don't really feel like it. I think you'll get those people. But the hardcore people who think that, like Bill Gates and Fauci are trying to depopularize the world and all that other crazy shit, I don't think that those individuals are going to be pushed by $50. I do find it interesting that they talk about employers that are charging people a fee for smoking. I honestly didn't even know that it was legal to actually charge a fee for it. It's most certainly something that I've considered at my own job, at my own company when it comes to employees. You are probably less likely to get a raise if you are a smoker. And the reason is that unlike drinking or smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, at least as far as I've found it, is insanely addictive. So I know people that smoke weed and I know people that drink on their spare time. that come to work and they do their job. But the people I know that smoke cigarettes, they come to work and every 20 or 30 minutes, they're walking out that door to smoke another cigarette. They'll go through a pack or two a day because every 20, after their repair is done or even halfway through a repair point, they walk outside and they spend 10 minutes wasting time smoking a cigarette. And the thing that happens with that is A, there's a lower productivity rate throughout the day because you spend a good portion of the time that I'm paying you to smoke. And B, it also leads to a lower rate of knowledge sharing because, for instance, my shipping guy, Dan, who used to be the shipping guy, he was pretty much I'll be honest, one of the biggest company success stories that I've had in 12 years. He deserves it. Admittedly, he also finally beat me in bench press, probably because he skips leg day all the time. I'll testosterone went to his chest. But anyway, all being serious here. He went from the most brain-dead job here, no offense, it's shipping. You take something, you bubble wrap it, you put it in a box and you ship it, to advanced board repair using the Zalmao, PCH and CPU swaps and reballs and all sorts of stuff like that. He was actually diagnosing boards that techs who had been here for 2 years longer would say, I give up on this, I'm not sure what to do. And he would take it and fix it. It really did raise the bar for everybody who works here. He's an amazing employee. And he learned how to do this job because of the constant cross-pollination of ideas. When there was something that, when he was done with his work or when he was a little bit ahead, he would walk over to the other people there and say, hey, what are you doing? Or, hey, can I learn how to do this? Or, hey, can I shadow you and learn this? Whereas someone who is a cigarette smoker, the moment they have any free time, they're walking out the door to fucking smoke their cigarette. And it stunts the growth pattern. So the individuals I've had here, it just so happens that everybody that I've had as a long-term employee who's been a smoker has also been someone where there's been zero cross-pollination and zero learning from other people here. I don't think that's a coincidence that the people that go outside constantly to smoke, because they are chemically and mentally addicted to the substance. They are mentally and chemically addicted to the nicotine. Every 15, 20 minutes, they need to go outside and get their fix. They're less likely to put time and effort in to learn from their fellow coworkers and to really investigate things, to, let's say, upgrade from reassembly to board repair, upgrade from reassembly to data recovery, upgrade from basic customer service to handling the miserable tickets that Steve and Kevin handle every day from very complicated people. And also there is the aspect of it of health. But it really does bring up the question, if you can charge someone a surcharge for not having a COVID vaccine, because that means that they're more likely to take paid sick days, because you have to keep in mind, there are many areas of the country where you are required by law to provide a certain amount of paid sick days. So you need to provide paid sick days. So they worked at, into their actuarial findings, if you're a large corporation, okay, what is the likelihood that someone who does not have the COVID vaccine is going to want more paid sick days, which we are legally obligated to give them. And if we are legally obligated to give this amount of sick days, and this group of people is more likely to take those paid sick days, then can we charge them? Can we pay them less? Can we lower their salary or not give them raises as a result of that costing us money? The same way that the cigarette smoker that walks outside every 20 minutes to get their fix is less likely to get a raise here because they spend their time outside the store door smoking rather than inside the store fixing things and learning how to fix things so that they can better themselves in the craft. And then it also begs the question of, do we spread this to everything else? Is there going to be a fat surcharge? Is there going to be a sugary surcharge? I know people that are damn near close to being diabetic that also have absolutely no problem ingesting an additional 100 grams of sugar in really hyper sugary tea. It affects their mood. It affects their ability to work quickly. Not at this company, but I know them in other companies. Does the business owner there charge them a surcharge for their health? At what point is a surcharge legal or illegal? At what point is a surcharge based on health, discrimination, or just normal? And are we going to start applying this to other areas other than COVID? Because there are many things that are going to slow someone down. If you work at a shipping company, if you work at a company where you got to move things back and forth all day and carry things, if someone is obese and they are likely to get tired more often because they are not in as good cardio shape, do you charge them a surcharge? If your employee has clinical depression, that is going to affect them big time. I know that as someone who has been depressed and had serious anxiety in the past. It's something that's been hereditary in my family, or as someone who has employed people who are incredibly depressed. That's something that is going to hit them way worse than just someone who's more likely to get a cold or flu from time to time, or even COVID. Can you pay somebody less or say, you're depressed, You have clinical depression. We're taking $200 a month off your pay. And how would that be received by the wider community? Is this opening the door for that, or does it make sense to do this because of the sheer amount that it is going to increase company health costs? Because if their argument is that this is going to, A, increase the amount of paid sick days that this employee who we are forced to provide paid sick days to by the government and legislation is going to take, or B, it's going to increase our group insurance rates as a result of them having expensive hospital stays. Yeah, COVID is an expensive hospital stay, I suppose, more so directly if you know that they get COVID than just someone who's being overweight will for some other thing down the line. But is it? Is it really? At what point do we normalize this? And if we normalize this, do we normalize the rest of it? Again, charging you a surcharge because you're really, really depressed. Charging you a surcharge because you have a smoking addiction, which any boss who has ever had a deal with someone who steps outside every 15 minutes to get their fix because they are addicted to a drug understands. Do we apply this to people who are obese? Do we apply this to people that go and eat at Checkers or Shake Shack every day rather than getting chicken and broccoli at the Whole Food salad bar or something for lunch? How far do we go with this? And I think that's a question that we're all going to have to ask ourselves. And if this starts getting normalized, I kind of am curious how this is going to move to every other area, and I'm kind of curious if people are going to be happy when it moves to every other area. Again, at my store, everybody is vaccinated besides one individual, so I didn't force people to get the vaccine. I encouraged people to, and I got vaccinated myself before encouraging other people to, because I figured if I'm not willing to get something that I'm suggesting other people get. That really does speak volumes. It's one of those things as and boss in general, people are not just looking at what you say, they're looking at what you do, and they're looking at the example. Like, what are you willing to do? What example do you set when people follow? I got my vaccine. I encourage my employees to get it because, again, for me, I've always offered unlimited paid sick days. Obviously, if someone took 365 days off a year, I suppose it's unlimited in the way that Verizon gives you unlimited 4G. But I've never really been the person that counts it and goes, I know you have a 103 fever, but you're on your last day. I've never really done that. So it is in my best interest if the people here are healthy and also less likely to be ill because of something, less likely to transmit it, less likely to be, get a new variant, or less likely to be hospitalized from it. That's obviously a benefit for me. But yeah, I really haven't gotten to the point of saying your health is lower, therefore I'm going to pay you less. Until it gets to a point where you're, fundamentally incapable of spending 8 hours at work. Only once it gets to the point where you're only working 5 hours out of an 8-hour shift because every 10 or 20 minutes you get up to, spend 10 minutes on your fix. Has that ever been an issue for me? And even then, it hasn't been an issue where I subtract from that person's pay, where I actually give them a surcharge, cigarette smoker, surcharge, fat, surcharge, depressed. It's really just been something where it comes time for someone to be reviewed as an employee, and this is what is keeping them from getting to the next level. You don't really commingle with other people to try and learn, and you may have time to do that if you didn't spend 3 hours a day outside, or you just are spending 3 hours a day outside that I'm paying you for. So that kind of makes it difficult for me to justify giving you more money compared to your coworkers who are not spending several hours outside. I'm just kind of curious what everybody thinks of this, and I'm curious what people think of the slippery slope of this being applied to every other thing when it comes to health. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think that more employers should be charging their employees and issuing surcharges of $20 or $50 or $100 or $500 a month if they don't get vaccinated? Or do you think that this is bad because there will be that slippery slope into charging for every other type of medical condition? That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.